Então, 2, 3.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another session of the CNC meetings online. Thank you for your presence, for joining us for today's session. Today, we welcome as invited speaker Catarina Fonseca, who will talk about marine coastal ecosystems biodiversity and services in a changing world. First of all, thank you, Catarina, for accepting our invitation to be invited speaker today. Before I present briefly Catarina Fonseca's academic path and research, I also invite you during the presentation to please leave your questions on the YouTube live chat that you have on your right on your screen, because after the presentation, we will have a few minutes to ask a few questions to Catarina. So Catarina Fonseca, she has background in environmental biology. She holds a PhD in geography and territorial planning, and her research is dedicated to the governance and management of natural areas, such as protected areas, marine areas, and beaches. And she tries to combine the natural and social perspectives in this research. She has participated in several research and conservation projects, including projects particularly focused on island systems. Currently, she is a postdoc researcher at CE3C. She is a recent member of our research center, and she's exactly a postdoc researcher within the project that she comes to present us today, Marine Coastal Ecosystem Biodiversity and Services in a Changing World. So, welcome, Catarina. Thank you once again for accepting our invitation to be here today. And I now give you the floor for us to learn a bit more with you about this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Marta. Thank you for the opportunity to present our project. I'm going to share my screen now. Yes. So my goal today is to give you all a general overview of the problem that we are trying to tackle in our project, the project structure, and the ongoing tasks that we have now. So, as you noticed by the name of the project, we are focused on marine coastal ecosystem services, and we can say that today there is a general awareness of the main services provided by these ecosystems, such as food provision, coastal protection, recreational, and other cultural services. These are, of course, a few examples of the diverse array of services, of benefits that we can get from marine coastal ecosystems. In fact, the services provided by these ecosystems are essential for our well-being, as they provide us safety, health, food security, opportunities for economic development, and so on. However, there is still a small understanding of the multiple and complex connections between these services provided by the ecosystem and human well-being. Despite the importance of these ecosystems, they are endangered due to a number of threats, direct threats, such as overfishing, pollution, sedimentation, coastal urbanization, erosion, etc. And also, of course, the effects of climate change, such as global warming, sea level rise, ocean acidification, etc. And in this context, there is already a fair amount of research focused on the link between biodiversity elements, ecosystem functions, and ecosystem services. as well, as well as on the potential effects of climate change over biodiversity. However, we still lack an integrated approach that is able to consider all the interrelations between these elements, including also the social factors. And these knowledge gaps are even more substantial in marine ecosystems due to their complexity and limited access, which makes these knowledge gaps even greater in the marine ecosystems compared to terrestrial ones. This is one of the ambitions of our project, of MaCoBioS project, which is a Horizon 2020 funded project, and it will run until mid-2024. So we are still in the beginning, the first year of our project. The main goal of the project is to ensure effective and integrated management and conservation strategies for European marine coastal ecosystems to face climate change. And there are 4 specific objectives to help us achieve this goal. The first one is to develop new empirical models on the interaction between climate change, biodiversity, functions and services in marine and coastal ecosystems. The second is to establish a framework to assess the vulnerability of marine socio-ecological systems under different climate change scenarios. The third is to evaluate the effectiveness of nature-based solutions and protection measures in enhancing the resilience capacity of marine coastal ecosystems. And the last one is to provide evidence-based guidance for marine policy formulation and innovative research pathways. So these are the 4 main objectives of the project. The project is focused on some key ecosystems, and these are the coral reefs, marl beds and mangroves, and also kelp forests, seagrass beds and salt marshes. These are our ecosystems under study in the project. These ecosystems are studied in 3 different ecoregions: the Lesser Antilles in the Caribbean, the Northern Europe, and the Western Mediterranean. And the goal here is to study these ecosystems under different climates, and of course different effects of climate change, and also different pressures from human activities. For each of these 3 ecoregions, we have 3 case studies. In the Lesser Antilles, we have Barbados, Bonaire, and Martinique, all island systems. In the Northern Europe, we have Ireland, Norway, and the UK, the United Kingdom. And in the Western Mediterranean, we have France, Italy, and Spain. To study all these case studies, we have a great team, and this includes 16 partner institutions, 8 of which are universities, 5 research centers, 2 small enterprises, and 1 international organization, the IOC UNESCO. And the project is coordinated by the University of Portsmouth. Our team at Fundação Gaspar Frutuoso, the Portuguese partner in this project, is composed by 4 members of our research center, myself, Artur, Jessica, and Cristina, and also a colleague from CBU, Zita. And we, as a team, we cover different topics from remote sensing and GIS to ecology and also policy and stakeholders analysis. So basically, we participate in all the technical work packages that the project has. So there are 4 technical work packages. The first one is focused on the biodiversity functions and services of marine and coastal ecosystems. The second on the risk and adaptation of these socio-ecological systems. The third is focused on the nature-based solutions, and the fourth focused on the policy formulation. So the technical work packages are directly related to the 4 objectives of the project. In addition, we have also a work package focused on cooperation and communication with stakeholders and other partners. And of course, as all these projects, a work package dedicated to project coordination and management. This is just to give you an overview of the timeline of the project and all the tasks that we have. So the dotted line marks where we stand now. And you can see that we have 5 technical tasks ongoing right now. So we are still in the beginning of the project. And under work package 1, which is again focused on studying the links between biodiversity and the functions of the ecosystems and the services provided, we have 3 tasks going on. One specifically focused on the role of biodiversity to sustain ecosystem services. So which elements of biodiversity are more linked with which types of ecosystem services. The second task is more about understanding the climate change, how climate change affects the foundation species of these ecosystems. And the third task is about understanding how we can assess the ecological condition and the provision of the ecosystem services. To do that, we have lots of methodologies being applied and tools. So we are going to use existing data sets on biodiversity and environmental data. Also, for filling some gaps, we are going to use remote sensing techniques. We have also sampling on environmental DNA, and just going to start now the implementation or application of passive acoustic monitoring. So we are looking to understand and to identify the tipping points or the safe operating space of the foundation species in these ecosystems, and also trying to identify the best ecological indicators to give us an idea of the condition of the ecosystem and the link between that condition and the provision of key ecosystem services. In the second work package, right now we only have 1 task going on, but it's a big one and a complex one, which is about developing a composite index for multi-risk assessment. And this is a very complex task, as it requires us to identify and study the hazards that can impact these systems. Also assess the exposure and vulnerability of the elements of the system, and finally assessing the multi-risk of the system. So this is being developed through an extensive, of course, literature review and the interaction with all the experts in the project through workshops and also in a later stage involving the local stakeholders for validation. The work package 2 will then, after this first task is completed, will then focus on different scenarios of climate change and how the communities in these locations can adapt to these different scenarios. And then how can we have different approaches in terms of marine and coastal ecosystem management. The third work package about nature-based solutions to climate change adaptation and mitigation has not started yet, but it will focus on trying to understand the best nature-based solutions, meaning the actions to protect, sustainably manage or restore natural or modify ecosystems, such as, for example, artificial reefs or other types of restoration actions, which are the best approaches to face climate change in these ecosystems and to ensure that we still provide the ecosystem services. So which type of nature-based solutions are being implemented? Are they being successful? How are stakeholders involved, etc.? How effective are these nature-based solutions? And then in the end, trying to develop some suitability maps for nature-based solutions in our case studies at the local and ecoregion level. And in work package 4, which is focused on trying to help the policy formulation to include these aspects for a better management of these ecosystems, we are finishing the first task, which is the stakeholders and policy review. And in this, we are mainly identifying the key stakeholders in terms of at the national, especially at the national and then local level, stakeholders linked with biodiversity and climate change issues. And also in terms of policy, we are analyzing and trying to identify the key national laws and strategies and see if they address or include questions related to nature-based solutions, ecosystem services, and related terms, and how are these being addressed and included in these documents. So after that, we will start a platform for dialogue with stakeholders in each case study, and of course also at the international level. And the last task of this work package is to gather and provide in an effective way policy guidance based on our results to be included in future policy formulation and research and innovation as well. So in the end, what we expect to achieve with this project is a better understanding of the internal relations between biodiversity, ecosystem services, and climate change. We expect also to develop some tools to assess the environmental condition and multiple risks in these systems, to promote the suitable use of nature-based solutions to cope with climate change, and again, provide evidence-based guidance for policy formulation and implementation at the national and European and international level. So If you are excited with our project, please follow us for updates. We are still in the beginning, but we will have, of course, very exciting results. You can follow us in social media or our website. And thank you for your interest in our project.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Catarina, for your presentation about this project. And you see that the project is still in the first months, right? So it's still lots of exciting work ahead. So I invite everyone that is following this this presentation, this stream, to please ask your questions on the live chat that you have on your right on your screen. So please leave your questions. We have a few minutes for questions now, and perhaps I will start with a few questions of mine. So I am always curious about the communication aspect, and you mentioned, so policymakers are one of the main audiences of your project, and I was curious if you're also working with the communities in each of the regions that you will work on. Are there any communication activities thought about how to involve the communities?
Mm-hmm. So we, as I mentioned, we have a work package fully dedicated on communication and cooperation. We are still in the beginning, as I told you, and we are still identifying the local stakeholders at each case study. So we haven't begun yet the communication, the involvement in the engagement with local stakeholders yet. But we plan to have a platform based on platforms used in previous projects that are used to sustain continuous dialogue with local stakeholders. And so this is one of the strategies. We are going to develop, of course, some workshops, and in the current context, it will be mainly online. We hope that in the next years, as the project will run until 2024, we get a chance to have, you know, local presential initiatives. But for these first steps in terms of engagement, it will probably be online initiatives. So yeah, we are going to have, not yet because we are still identifying local stakeholders. In some case studies, we have a few options in terms of sites to study, and we are going to have to narrow it down a little bit. But of course, we are going to involve them through the project.
Thank you very much. And in the meantime, as you mentioned in the last slide, people can also follow the updates on social media. I saw that there's a Twitter and Instagram, and also, of course, the website of the project. So it's very interesting work ahead. And I was listening to you, and I was thinking that, of course, the current situation that we live is a challenge, and probably you will have to work around, but keep continuing the work, just finding new solutions. Yeah. And besides this challenge that we are all facing, I was wondering what, on the one hand, are the main challenges that you expect as a team for the project? And on the other hand, what are your main expectations for results for this project?
Yeah, I think I will begin with the last part of the question. I think that one of the most exciting parts of the project, I would say, that is the first two work packages in terms of advancing knowledge, in terms of the connection between biodiversity, ecosystem services, and the effects of climate change, and that integrated approach, including also the social factors. I think that's in terms of marine environment, because as I was saying, we have been advancing knowledge in terms of terrestrial ecosystems, but marine are of course more difficult. They are less accessible in terms of, well, we need to dive and to understand and to see and to sample. So I'm really excited to see the results in terms of although I don't work much with biology right now because I'm more focused on the social part of the system, but I'm really excited for the project to advance in terms of that knowledge. And the team is great. We have lots of excellent partners, and the case studies are very exciting. So I think that we'll have very interesting results. In terms of challenges, we have, of course, in this context, the main challenge of field work, how to do field work in these conditions, travel restrictions, etc., etc. And of course, it's a big team with lots of case studies, and I think that we all know that coordinating efforts is, of course, a challenge, but we have an excellent coordination team, so I'm very confident that we'll achieve very good results. And of course, that the engagement with stakeholders is a challenge. It's always a challenge. People are more aware and more open to these issues, these thematics and environmental concerns. But on the other hand, we have a lot of initiatives right now trying to engage with stakeholders, and stakeholders fatigue is a concern, I think, because since we have moved to the online world, we have lots and lots and lots of initiatives, and so ensuring that people really engage and it's not a punctual engagement, is a sustained engagement, it's a real challenge, of course.
Yeah, so ensuring the motivation throughout the process. Yeah, we are now working in a different environment, so the online environment. So it poses new challenges, but I'm sure the project team will do great, and great results will come ahead. And we now have one comment from Vitor Souza, who is also a researcher from our project. He thanks you for the talk, and he looks forward to see the results of the project. So we are all looking forward to follow the developments and then the results of the project. I just have maybe one final curiosity, a final question that once again as my curiosity from a different field, from communication, which is to see that to understand. So this is an interdisciplinary project, right? Because you have many different angles to look at these ecosystems and the services and how the impact of climate change. So my question would be, what are the different disciplines that are involved in the project? So different areas that are involved, not just biology. So which other areas are involved?
Yeah, so we have a big team of course, biologists and ecologists. We then also have people more linked with remote sensing, geographical information systems, and so on. Also people from political sciences, economics, communication, of course. And I think that's, we have some people from geography and planning, because the risk assessment is more traditionally from planning perspective. So yeah, and it's been really great to have all the different perspectives sit in one virtual room and discuss, for example, issues simple as definitions, same definition can have different interpretations depending on the discipline. For example, adaptive capacity, or so it's been a really fruitful discussion to have this multidisciplinary team.
Thank you, Catarina. And so from my part, I don't have for now any more questions or curiosities. Since we have also Stella Mains in the live chat saying very interesting, so congratulating you for the talk. Since we don't have further questions for now, I would invite everyone interested to follow the updates of this project, following on social media and on the website. And if you have further questions later on, you can contact the research team of the project using the website and the contacts that are on the website. And
probably we can have another presentation in some time, in 1 year time, and with the presentation of results and stuff. So.
Yes, certainly, because we are eager to learn a little bit more about this different ecoregions. And actually, we have another comment. So the comments are arriving. So we have a comment by Francisco Aguilar. He says, quantifying the marine ecosystem services in cash win versus lost could be interesting. I didn't understand if these are one topic or that could be on the table for this project.
Mm-hmm. So most of the times we are now talking about ecosystem services, but there's another point of view, which is these services, and so that's another angle. So what we gain through ecosystem services, but also what we can lose. But I understand Francisco is saying, and I think, of course, that will be one of the issues under Work Package 1, which is what we gain and what we lose in terms of provision of services through the impact of climate change effects and also other impacts from human activities. So yeah, but the project is more focused on trying to understand the link between the biodiversity elements, so the species or the composition of species in the ecosystem, and the types of ecosystems that they provide, and then the effects of climate change, not only on the species, but on this provision. So I'm not sure, and also because I'm not that involved in Work Package 1, I'm more involved in Work Package 2 and 4, and I don't have yet a good overview of Work Package 1. But I think that they will try to cover all the aspects of the effects of climate change in ecosystem services provision. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Catarina. So few more ideas that we leave here in the discussion, and really now wrapping up the session. I really wish all the success for the project, and we are looking forward to follow the results. So it's a great idea to think about the new presentation in a few time from now, for us to follow the first results of the project. And it's a 4-year project, 5-year project. 2020, 2024. So lots of time ahead to work on this subject. So thank you once again, Catarina, for your presentation. Congratulations to you and to all the team. Thanks, Mariana Marques, who's here on the backstage, ensuring that everything goes well with the connection and with the YouTube. And thanks to all that are following here our presentation. And thank you all, and stay tuned for the